It's a golden road TV show. Yes, it's a golden road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show.com. You might be watching this live broadcast on YouTube, or you might be watching the rebroadcast on one of 10 local cable TV stations. But welcome to the Golden Road TV show's Earth Day special. So welcome. And we're really excited. We have a great program for you this afternoon. As always, we have some educational speakers ranging from some local indigenous representatives and Native folks, all the way to educators, to people who are working with health, arts and culture, peace and justice, and many other topics that affect the quality of life, not just here within our region, but really around the country and around the world. So thanks for joining us. My name's Michael DiMartino. I'm your host. I'm really happy to be here, not just doing another broadcast, but also here to announce a really exciting project called the Source Directory. We'll talk about that in a little more. My partner, Payom Riles, will be here to talk about the project that we're collaborating on. But it's a great way to find highly vetted contacts of individuals, businesses, and organizations who are doing great work within the region of the Sacramento River watershed around arts and culture, peace and justice, holistic health, and the environment. So they're all dedicated to community building, economic development, and environmental regeneration. So we have a great performance for you now. I'm going to turn it over to them, and we'll be back with our speakers in just a moment. But if you all want to put your hands together and welcome the fairly new Peace Choir. Nice round of applause for the Peace Choir.
Peace is the world smiling, peace is a gentle dove, peace is sharing, peace is caring, peace is filling the world with love.
Peace is the world smiling, peace is a gentle smiling, peace is a world smiling. Peace is a gentle dove. Peace is sharing, peace is caring, peace is filling the world with smiling. Peace is a gentle smiling, peace is a gentle dove. Peace is sharing, peace is caring, peace is filling the world with love.
Century, it's amazing when you realize that people in all time have wanted the same things out of life, out of the world, out of society, and it's God grant us peace in our days. So here it is in Latin, Da Pacem
Domine, Da Pacem Domine, in diebus nostris. Da pacem Domine, da pacem Domine, in diebus nostris. Da
Thank you so much. We're going to have another song or two from the Peace Choir in just a moment. But again, I want to welcome you to our Golden Road TV Earth Day special. And we're very happy and very honored to have our first speaker today. She's a local Native woman. She's a Mountain Maidu. And we're very honored because whenever we do our shows, we always have to remember to allow our first speaker and representative to be someone from the local Native and Indigenous tribe. So we're very honored that she could take time to be here today with all of you to speak about women's issues from an Indigenous perspective. So a nice round of applause for Wendy Olnick.
Hi, thanks for inviting me here. This is really an honor. And I chose to speak about basketry and basket weavers. And the Basket Weaver Association started here in Nevada City. I don't know if a few of you know Sarah Greensfeld. She started this back in the late 80s. And by the early 90s, it became, they had an office here in Nevada City off of Spring Street. But the trouble with basketry is that Native women will go and they look for basket material. And a lot of times the only place they can find it is along the highways, along the roads. And the state and the county will spray it. So, and basket people, they always put everything in their mouth. When they pick willow, they'll have a long strand of willow, and they'll bite one end of it, and then they hold the other end, and then they split it like this. This is how they split it. And if it's sprayed, then they end up getting cancer in their mouth, and a lot of people have gotten this. So I thought maybe a really good thing might be if people have large pieces of land, acreage in the area, that maybe water runs through it. You could get willow, and you could call SEBA, and they will come out and they'll harvest it. But it has to be before the spring of the year. It has to be when it's cooler, because once it starts budding, you end up with holes in your basket. So the willow baskets will hold water because they used to cook with them. And they would have round stones. Matter of the fact that they used to get off at the Bear River. And they were perfect little round stones, and they're cooking stones. And they would get them hot, and then they would put them into the basket. And they would make a long stick with a hole on it. They would rewrap it, and they'd always push it around. So that's how they had acorn soup, by doing that. But you had to really work fast and watch it, because it would burn. And if it burnt a hole in your basket, then you couldn't cook for a while. So it usually takes a year to make one of these baskets. And so they had to be really careful. So you'd always have a few of them, but it was a really good thing to watch your rock. My sister was telling me this morning that she had made some oatmeal and it burnt. So, I mean, you couldn't do that with the baskets. So, but if you want to get a hold of SEBA, it's just California Indian Basket Weavers Association, but it's also known by SEBA, and it's www.seba at ciba.org, and that's their, I have their phone number also. It's 530-668-1332. But they gather all sorts of different types of materials to make basketry. They make necklaces out of bear grass. And in order to make bear grass necklaces, you are to use bear grass. The bear grass has to be burnt in the fall, because if not, and they go and they clip it and they use it, it's really sharp and it will cut you, and you can't work with it. But if you burn it ahead of time, then it grows out and it's really soft and pliable, and then you can pick the bear grass and use it. And the redbud, They always need red bud, and they don't take everything. They only take certain strands of it, because whatever you take, you have to process immediately. So you can't take a pickup load of stuff because you won't be able to process it all. So you only take what you need. And sometimes it'll take 2 to 3 years to finish one basket because they didn't get enough. And the red bud, they use that for the design of the basket. And so if you have any property that you would like to have somebody come out and maybe clip your willow or your red bud if you have any, or even your bracken fern, they'll come and get that, or your bear grass, and they'll come out and burn it for the following year. But they never take all of it because they want to come back and, make more baskets. But they'll help you clean up your yard. Even pine needles, they'll like pine needles. They like the longer pine needles because they're easier, and they need brown ones instead of green ones. Because if you make a green pine needle basket, what happens is when they dry, they're round like this, and when it dries, it will split. And then you have a broken basket. So they like dried ones.
So Wendy Olnick, thank you so much. And really for bringing to light something we don't really think about. Recently, I attended the actual glyphosate, anti-glyphosate rally that happened in Sacramento at the Capitol. And it was amazing because I went there, and it was held at the Capitol to try to get various legislators to know about the detrimental effects of Roundup on our communities, on our youth, on animals, on agriculture, and the environment in general. And when I got there, I was a little bit horrified because there was absolutely no media there. So part of the reason that we do this incredible labor of love and project called Golden Road TV and Radio is to bring to light various topics that might not necessarily be covered by the corporate media. So on that note, we're not going to get too political today. It's Earth Day. We're here to celebrate and to give you inspiring and educational insights. And on that, I'm going to turn it back over for another couple songs with Gabrielle and the Peace Choir. Thank you.
Who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change and life from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change and life from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Love to breathe the crisp clean air along the mountain trail, recycle all my household trash and fill my compost pail. Being green, being green, being green, being green, treading lightly on the land of being green, being green, treading softly on the earth. I love to swim in waters clean beneath the noonday sun. Eating GMO-free, organically, can be so very fun. Being green, being green, being green, treading lightly on the land of being green, being green, walking softly on the earth.
Hi, my name's Poyam Riles. I'm a civil engineer. I work for Stantec, and I've been working with Michael on developing the source directory. The reason why we decided to build the source directory is because we saw that there's all these amazing people and organizations that are working to do really incredible stuff. And we realized that by bringing them all together in a common directory, we can make our region stronger and more resilient. And there's a couple different ways that happens. You know, one, people who are doing this amazing work and go to the directory to put their information in and say, you know, I realize I'm really playing a really important role in my region by, you know, helping with the watershed or by helping homeless people, whatever it is that they're doing. They'll see other organizations doing similar things, and it might be someone they didn't know about, and they can reach out to collaborate. But it's also a place where someone says, boy, you know what, I really want to be doing this in my community, but I don't know who to talk to. They can go to the directory and find the resources they need, whether that's someone doing that work in their community that they can connect with and join up with and provide support, or they might see someone in another community doing just what they want to do, and they can ask them, how did you do this? How did you set this up? I want to do this in my community. What do I need to do? Can you help me do that? So it helps to make our whole region stronger and more resilient. We can build connections, build bridges. We're really lucky in this community to have so many incredible organizations doing so much incredible work. And not, you know, California is unique in that way, but Nevada County is really unique in that way. And we can actually provide a lot of really powerful examples for other communities who might want to start a local watershed coalition or something for their local watershed. And so that's sort of what this was born out of. Another really important reason to build these networks, you know, we're moving into a time where there's going to be some really radical changes. I think we can all acknowledge that. And so, you know, it's important to build resilience for, you know, natural disasters, to do what we can to mitigate climate change. There's all kinds of reasons, but something else is we don't know what our what the environment and the future is going to look like for our networks, our on the internet, but even social networks, and they're going to be really important going forward. So, you know, we have this uncertainty coming around net neutrality and things like that, and so if we can build local networks where it becomes easy to find the local resources we need, we don't have to worry as much that Comcast isn't going to support us in doing that, or Google isn't going to support us in finding the resources we need. I've had experiences even in setting up this directory. Oh, here's this local organization I know about. Let me look for their information. And it's actually, they're not the first one that comes up when I search that name, because just for whatever reason. So that's another really important reason to set up these local networks and strengthen our local region. So the region that we're talking about is we you know, because we see the importance of water, we set it up to encompass the watershed, the Sacramento River watershed. So that goes from Shasta, from the headwaters in Shasta, all the way down to Vacaville, Solano, where it meets the Delta. It goes all the way over to Clear Lake, all the way up to Truckee. Now, we include Truckee, even though it's not in the Sacramento River watershed, because they're so closely tied to us economically. So we call it the Sacramento River Watershed Bioregion. We may move in, and anyone can go in and sign up, but we're focusing on strengthening this region. One thing I would like to see, one of the largest sections of the directory currently is the environment and ecology section, which is wonderful to see. There's a lot of really great organizations in this region doing work around environment and ecology. There's something unique about this region in that we provide the majority of water for California, whether that's surface water that people end up drinking or using for farming, or whether it's water that ends up being percolated into the ground and ends up being groundwater. We provide a lot of the water for California. And so we sort of have a responsibility to maintain and care for that water. The term water protector that has been popularized recently is a really profound term, and I think it really strikes a chord with a lot of people, because water is the most sacred thing to life. I mean, you cannot have life on this planet without water. It just doesn't really exist. And so I would like to see a shift in our culture where each individual understands the importance of their role in the watershed, because whether we know it or not, we all play a really vital role in managing our watershed. Every time you turn on your tap, every time you flush your toilet, every time you go out in your garden, how you manage your landscape, what you do with your lawn clippings. Do you mow, how do you mow your lawn? What do you spray? Where do your, old pharmaceuticals go? There's all kinds of things that we do in our daily life that affect the quality of our water, our health, and millions of other people. And so I think it would be very good for our culture if we could make that cultural shift so that each person understands their importance. And hopefully the source directory is going to help people to do that. They can go and see what kinds of projects are going on in their watershed, and they can go see, what they can do to take that active role in managing their watershed, get the education that they need so that they know how they should manage their landscape, and they know, how to manage their water. So go to thesourcedirectory.org and sign up. We want you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Payom Riles. And it's been really great to get to not only know Payom more, but also get to work with him on this incredible directory. He's a civil engineer and hydrologist, and definitely knows what is happening both scientifically and ethically. And it's been great also. We've been attending recently a permaculture workshop with Cathay Fish, and that's been extremely educational. We do have some groundbreaking announcements. We're not doing it now. We'll probably be announcing those around summer solstice, but all of this is going to continue to roll forward into another groundbreaking project. And the next few speakers, including Box Power and many others, are going to hopefully be a big part of that, because there are people in Nevada County who are doing a lot locally, regionally, and worldwide. So traditionally on Golden Road TV, we cover topics of arts and culture, holistic health, peace and justice, and we do some science and tech stuff. And hopefully what we're trying to do is, again, bridge all these areas of thought and experience into a synergistic way to come up with alternatives and solutions, because the system, I'm not speaking politically per se, but the systems that we've been using for the last 150 years, especially here in Gold Country, where there's a lot of effects from the mining and a lot of heavy metal contamination and other things that we all enjoy, the Yuba and Feather River and the Bear River, the American River, affect our quality of our life and our health. So again, I want to thank Payom for his dedication to show up And that's really what it takes. Whether you're working on the issues of Roundup and glyphosate, whether you're working on GMOs, whether you're working on emergency preparedness with fires or power. We can see what's happening in Puerto Rico right now. With power and the infrastructure completely being deteriorated from the recent hurricanes. We can see what's happening still in New Orleans from the hurricanes. We can think about sea level rise. All of these things play into this great dynamic of the changes that Payom had spoke about. Well, one area that I'm extremely passionate about is holistic health, because before the institution of pharmaceutical medicine and Western medicine, which has its role, people used plants, they used natural medicine, and there's a lot of alternatives of what people can do to increase their quality of life and health. And the next speaker is going to talk a little bit about that. She was on our show probably about a year ago, and recently with the legalization of cannabis and a deeper understanding of how this plant can be ethically used as a medicine, not just for a good time, I was really I got a great education. I was very intrigued by what she had to speak about the valuable attributes of CBDs. So I'm going to introduce our next guest, and we're happy that she could come up from Auburn. We have people coming from all over the state to be part of this effort and movement. Put your hands together as we welcome Melissa Moon.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to be here. Thanks for inviting me back. My name's Melissa Moon. I am a practitioner of health. My study is in work with advanced neurology work and retraining the nervous system through a series of contacts on the body. It's called ELON, which means Extraordinary Health Through Advanced Neurology. I feel like we all have a responsibility in our own health and wellness to be more aware of what our bodies are telling us and the things that we can do to move ourselves forward and not to be so reliant on the allopathic system of Western medicine, and to look to things like CBDs, which can be found in our hemp and our cannabis plants. Now, what the beautiful thing about the hemp plant is it is primarily CBD, which means cannabidiols, cannabinoids. There's about 315-ish active constituents in these plants, and the majority of them are CBD. Some do have THC, which is more of our cannabis sativa and indica, and then you have the other side, which is the hemp plant, which is non-psychoactive. And what's great about the CBDs is that our bodies have an endocannabinoid system already in place, and respectively, they're mainly the CBD1 and CBD2 receptors are mainly in our brains and in our guts, which will also be like our immune system. And these receptors are vital to the optimum health and working of our body. This endocannabinoid system is a relatively new medical exploration within the last 20 years. So as of right now, with the stigma that's on cannabis that has the psychoactive properties, there hasn't been a lot of research to be done on the actual health benefits, but that kind of research is growing by the day. And we can see that in people with cancer. We can see that in children with seizures. We can see that in gentlemen and women who come back from war with PTSD, people who are suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's, and a variety of other types of health issues. This information and this research is just continually growing. I'm personally affiliated with a company called Prime My Body. They use highly sourced, organically grown hemp that they take to their labs in Colorado and process it in a way that it's nano-enhanced. And when they mean nano-enhanced, it has particle sizes that are usable by our body. Not very, very small, but they mimic the sizes of our natural cells inside of our system so that it can cross the blood-brain barrier it is uptaked in the body on a higher, faster rate, and also the bioavailability is much more substantial than the leading tinctures and things that we ingest that are being made out in the market. Personally, I find relief with the use of this. It's safe for families, it's safe for pets, and the results from using it and helping our bodies get out of that fight or flight have been substantial. I personally had a mother who just recently passed away from dementia, and having this dietary supplement in her, I wish we could have had more opportunity to use it before she passed away to see what kind of result could have been in her health. And so I am honestly a big proponent on the widespread use of more of a natural, holistic way, because our bodies are really, really good at healing themselves. And then also the other work that I do with the Elan work is the same thing. So anytime that we can help our bodies bring us out of our sympathetic windup. So in our nervous system, we have the sympathetics, which is our fight or flight. And it seems as though in our culture, we are always on this brink of stress. You know, we're waking up in the day and we're being bombarded with these things that just really wind us up. Like, oh, how are we going to get through the day? And something like CBDs with the phytocannabinoid diol spectrum, and then also meditation and personal health and taking our opportunities to help relax our bodies is what helps initiate better healing, rest, relaxation, better digestion, all these things which will ultimately help us continue to heal and be better. So, okay. And so the work that I do with people and the work that I have done with this oil has definitely been substantial. So if you want any more information about Prime My Body, you can check it out online. Also, I'm available for questions or comments, or if you want to talk about either the Elan work, which is work that is being done down in Newcastle, mainly in Sacramento with a few offices, and then also with the oil, my number is 530-488-0000. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Melissa Moon. So we have a special treat. We realize that we spend so much time in our brain processing information, dealing with emails, dealing with text, trying to take in non-fake news. And I think that's one of the beauties of independent media, is that this is voices of the people. So our next guest, again, I'm so honored that she could be here today. I mean, one day she's here, the next day she's out in the Midwest, the next day she's in Yosemite with the wild buffalo, then she's down in Southern California, and then she's here and there, and she's done amazing collaborations with people like John Trudell and many others from the indigenous community. She's a great musician, artist, activist. Did I miss it? Is this you? Yeah, I want you to put your hands together and come on in and please enjoy a performance with Mignon Gelly, a representative of the Buffalo Field Campaign.
So I'm going to start out with a song, an original song called Stampede. And this is in dedication to the wild buffalo. As you know, the buffalo is now the national mammal, and a lot of people don't know that. And there's not a whole lot of buffalo. I mean, back in the 1860s, 1870s, the Europeans wiped out most of the buffalo. So there could have been 60 to 70 million roaming from, Canada all the way down to Mexico. Anyway, so they got wiped out. There are about 23 left, and they were in Yellowstone Park. And so Roosevelt, the president at the time, declared Yellowstone Park a reserve for the buffaloes. So since then, we have more buffalo, but nowadays the buffaloes are being slaughtered every year because they want to keep the numbers down. So it's a fight over grass between the Department of Livestock, who want that grass for the cows, versus our sacred buffalo. Anyway, it's a long story, but this is for our buffalo. Thank you.
But I want to introduce our next guest, and then we're going to take a little break because we did promise a potluck and some food, and we want to make sure everybody's blood sugar stays up. You won't find any candy bars, but you'll find some delicious and nutritious food. And then we'll come back for the next part of this afternoon's program. But I want to introduce our next presenter, and it's not really too difficult without looking too far to see that there's a lot of issues and things that are happening in the world. Again, maybe your passion is holistic health and natural medicine. Maybe you're committed to environmental protection or restoration. Maybe one of the things you're really passionate about is peace and justice. Earlier we had the Peace Choir, who are activists, but they're doing it through inspiring people through beautiful and conscious music. So there's a lot of great causes out there in the world, and especially when we start to realize that so many of these people are right here in our own backyard. So if you're just tuning in on YouTube, you're watching Golden Road TV, our Earth Day special. We're broadcasting live from the Nevada County Tech and Innovation Center here in the green screen room of Nevada County Television. And I want to put a shout out and a big thank you to Ramona Howard, who's really brought this space up to the 21st century as a space we can all use. So let's give Ramona Howard, NCTV, a nice round of applause. And I also want to thank someone who has been working with me and the TV show for the last 18 months. We've done broadcasts from Sacramento. We've done broadcasts from Auburn, from General Gomez Gallery. We've done broadcasts even last week in Chico from the Chico Women's Club. We're broadcasting here from the Nevada County Tech Center. We've done broadcasts from the Nevada Theater. We've done broadcasts all across the region in Mount Shasta, up in Weed at the Palace Theater. We've worked with Parks and Rec, the Chamber of Commerce, the Bureau of Economic Development. We've worked with the historical societies. So we really are committed now with this new project, the Source Directory, that Payom and I helped found, but are giving to all of you and future generations to build bridges between all the great people who are doing amazing work who might not even know who their neighbor is. So, for instance, recently we did a show up in Mount Shasta, and we brought in a gentleman who's a professional. He does river restoration work, and he's actually the person from Streamwise and others who are going to be doing the restoration of the Truckee River, helping to repair and widen the Truckee River. But we met a gentleman, Bruce Berlinger, who basically took 270 acres of the old Nestle plant out in McLeod. It was literally hell on earth, complete environmental destruction. Had a log pond where they would bring in the trees earlier during the time of the timber industry. Nestle's used a lot of the water. There was a lot of contamination there. Well, over the last few years, he's turned this place into a resiliency education center where now people are growing things. They're setting up cottage industries. He's bringing people from all around the area. I encourage you, check it out online. It's called The Mill. But at one of our Golden Road TV shows, he was saying, oh, well, I really need someone to come up there and do some river and creek restoration. And we pointed to the other, said, here it is. So it's really exciting not just to be here in vain to give information and more data and more emails and websites and Facebook and more stuff to do, but to really be making some real world connections with people that have answers and solutions for some of the problems we have in our region. So again, check that out. We have a computer set up in the lobby if you'd like to look at the directory. It is no charge to join up on a basic level. This is something we've done as a labor of love. But outside of the region also, even though our next speaker is local, is doing amazing work, because we all know recently what happened with the hurricane, right, in Puerto Rico. And I think more than half the island still doesn't have power and water. Everyone know what happened in New Orleans during the Hurricane Katrina. We knew what happened in Texas recently with the hurricane there, and what happened with coastal flooding. So we live in a time of great changes. As some of my teachers from the Hopi tribe, I got very blessed to spend time with grandfather David Monungye and also Thomas Banyaka. I helped to be an emissary when they went to the United Nations. We live in a world of Koyaanisqatsi. It's a world out of balance, and everything that seems like common sense is now upside down. especially when we add in the virus of fake news and political motivations. But transcending all of that, I want to introduce our next guest because when I heard about what's happening in Puerto Rico, it really brought tears to my eye that these people there could not have simple services like clean water, electricity, utilities, and how it was affecting families and people and businesses there. Now, there might be more underpinnings of why this is happening. I'm not going to get into that. We're not here to be too political today. We're here to inspire and educate you, and also to celebrate Earth Day with all of the elemental forces, earth, water, fire, and air, that are joining us here. Everything here is made from these elements, everything that we see and ourselves. But this next gentleman I read about in the Union, and they are doing it. And what they're doing is, I'll let him explain, but they're giving people alternatives and options that, whether it's disaster relief, if you live in an extremely rural area off the grid and you want to be able to tap into sustainable energy, they're doing it. So I want to introduce our next guest, Angelo Campos from Box Power. And if you haven't heard about them, listen to what he has to say as a short video and check them out, because they have created a real practical solution to deal with a lot of the problems we're talking about. So put your hands together, please, for Angelo Campos and Box Power.
Thank you. I want to thank the Golden Road TV show and Michael for putting all this together. This is my first time seeing the show and first time being here, and what an incredible and diverse group of presenters and information. So it's an honor to be present. My name's Angelo. I was born and raised in Nevada City, well, North San Juan, actually. Homeschooled here, went to Nevada Union before flying off when I was 18 to New Jersey to attend Princeton for 5 years, where I studied civil engineering. So I'm now back. I've been back in Nevada County for 2 years, and I'm really excited to present a little bit about what I've been looking at, what I've been working on, and sort of some of the problems that we see in the infrastructure of the world and how we think we can change it to be better. So I'll just start with sort of some facts about grid electricity. We all have it. We're benefiting from it right here. When you turn on a light switch, the lights come on. It's great. It's easy. It's pretty cheap. It's not like that everywhere in the world. Around the world, there are 1.2 billion people without any grid electricity, concentrated in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia, but there's little-known populations here in the U.S. If you look on Wikipedia, it says the United States electrification rate is 100%. That's not true. They round up a few decimal places. For most of us, it's 100%, but on Native American reservations, the percentage of the population without electricity is 14%. In the Navajo and Hopi land, as Michael just mentioned, there are 18,000 families without grid electricity because the U.S. government put a commercial infrastructure freeze in place for almost 60 years now on a swath of land that contains 18,000 Navajo and Hopi families, and they haven't been allowed to build infrastructure there in well over 60 years. In Puerto Rico, something that most people think is another country, but is actually America and American citizens. There are communities there that have been without electricity for 7 months since the hurricane. The community of Mariana has taken things into their own hands. They've built their own small solar systems, their own water filtration. They had to rebuild their own sewer system because the state completely failed to bring infrastructure back to these rural areas. And even closer to home, just this last year in Sonoma with the wildfires, people lost power for 2 and 3 weeks. The grid that we have today is modeled in the exact same way that it was when it was built 100 years ago, with centralized generation, long-distance transmission, and local distribution. It's old, it's crumbling, and it's incredibly inefficient and prone to interruption from natural disasters, which are only increasing in frequency, from political turmoil, from conflict. We're living in a volatile time, and the models of infrastructure of our past aren't catching up to the needs of present day. So these are the things that I saw in my studies and in my travels. And our solution was that we wanted to make grid electricity and the convenience of electricity mobile and modular and available to anyone, anywhere. Our mission is to bring renewable energy to low-income and off-grid communities. And our tagline is energy anywhere, because wherever you live on the planet, you have sunlight. And wherever you have sunlight, you should have electricity. So very broadly, that's my background. That's what I care about. And if I could now turn your attention over to one of the computer monitors, I'll show you a little minute video that will sort of sum up what we build and what we do. And then I can get into some specifics and tell you a little bit more about it. So thank you. I don't think our audio track is working on the video. So is it working on the online streaming? Or? Okay. So I'll just let you guys watch it here. Containers. They're designed to be able to be picked up from trucks to trains to boats. There's even helicopters that move them. They're a standardized intermodal transportation unit. On a cost per weight, it's the cheapest thing you can ship in the world. So what we put in there is a entirely prefabricated microgrid. There's a 16 kilowatt solar array, up to a 16 kilowatt solar array, a battery bank, an optional diesel generator if people need 100% reliably backup power, and the entire thing takes about 5 hours to set up. So 3 people arrive on a truck, you can set it on any flat piece of ground, and 5 hours later have enough electricity to power 3 to 5 full-sized U.S. homes, which translates to 10 to 15 Puerto Rican homes, and in many parts of the world, 50 to 100, when the energy consumption is only for electricity, for lighting and cell phone charging and whatnot. So that's our product. We're expanding to create larger and smaller systems, but that's what we have right now. The system that you saw in the video is currently being shipped to Puerto Rico, where it will be powering the community of Mariana. There it'll be powering a community center that has a communal kitchen and a laundromat, because the two things that people miss most is lighting for cooking in the evenings and washing clothes with machines after 7 months without power. So I think that says a lot about what we miss when we don't have electricity. Showers and cold beer, right? So a little bit of history about the company. I think I have a few minutes here. It was inspired and started out of the 2010 Haiti earthquake disaster. A couple of professors from Princeton were there working with Engineers Without Borders after the earthquake, and what they witnessed was diesel generators being used as sort of the de facto source of power in disaster recovery zones. The reason being that they're relatively small, cheap, standardized, and the issue with them is that in a disaster zone, your fuel supply lines get cut. This happened in Haiti. This happened in Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast. This happened in Houston. This happened in Puerto Rico. When a disaster hits, you can't get fuel for your generators anymore. In response to this, we started the company to design a renewable alternative to a generator that has the same benefits of being totally self-contained, easy to use, quick to set up, easy to deliver, but that doesn't rely on diesel supply chains in order to provide power. So I've been working on this for about 6 years now. We've sort of run through a university research track where we were sponsored by the university and doing research in their laboratories for 4 of those years. And 2 years ago, I graduated and we spun off and launched the commercial company, Box Power. Since then, we've done 3 total deployments. The first was with an oceanic research center in Bermuda, where they were monitoring sea level temperature changes and ocean acidification, powering their research center. Our second system went to the Ramapo-Lenape tribe in North Jersey, supporting them in their fight against the construction of the Pilgrim Pipeline, which is planned to be constructed through their ancestral home and watershed in North Jersey. And a story that we hear too often, unfortunately, and that so far looks like it is going to happen. I'm just sort of going off on a tangent here. This has nothing to do with what we do, but everyone got really fired up for Standing Rock. It was like on everyone's screens, on everyone's tongues, and that ended in a lot of tragedy. And I think people have sort of forgotten about it and moved on. There are other pipeline fights going on right now. The Ramapo-Lenape are fighting the Pilgrim Pipeline in North Jersey. The Makwa Initiative is fighting the Line 3 pipeline. If this is an issue you care about, find a cause and get involved, because even though Standing Rock may not be happening now, there are other fights you can get involved in. Back to what we do more currently. We're sending this system to Puerto Rico in the hope to have it be the first of many. There's areas of the island that won't have power for up to another 5 years, specifically the island of Vieques, which is off the coast of Puerto Rico. Population of less than 10,000, and they were served by an underwater transmission cable. And they're saying they're not going to get power back for 5 years, and they're running on diesel generators until then. So this is sort of, we see a imperative to do this. It's a tough market to get into. Renewable energy and hardware startups have traditionally not been successful, and socially oriented ones even less so. But we aren't letting that stop us. We believe that this is something that has to happen. We have to bring renewable energy to off-grid and at-risk and low-income populations. And if it's not us, I hope that someone else solves it. But until then, we'll be out there trying to get the solution. So just to sort of wrap this back in locally, a lot of our work is overseas, working with communities in Alaska and Puerto Rico. There's a market right here in California and the West Coast that we're also looking at. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the cannabis industry, but light depot greenhouses are often in very rural areas and are very often powered by diesel generators. I'm a big supporter of cannabis. I believe in its medicinal properties, but I also believe that the industry's been pretty dirty. Environmental practices have been, by and large, pretty atrocious with spilled fuel, spilled pesticides, and all of that. And we're trying to broadcast out a message that there's a cleaner way to do it. There's cleaner technologies for people who are, concerned with doing permanent infrastructure on their properties and sort of the hurdles and the liabilities that has. We think that containerized solutions may offer an interesting solution for them. So we're here to solve your energy needs. We aren't going anywhere, and thank you for your time, and thank you for being here.
Pretty good, huh? Wow. Solutions in a shipping container. So we're just going to go for another minute, and then we're going to have our little break and potluck. I know you guys have been sitting for a while, and we want to be sensitive to your dietary and also your physical needs. This is a chance where you can get up and actually just talk, chat with each other. And also, Payom will be out in the lobby area, the kitchen area where we have the potluck. So you can see what the source directory, I want to kind of bring it back because, it's almost impossible with so many. I think Nevada County has almost 300 nonprofit organizations alone. So it can be very challenging to keep track of them, to know who's doing what, who's credible. But not only that, as Payom spoke, with net neutrality, now if you look for something, the largest corporations, the biggest people who are spending the most advertising dollars are the ones who are getting the bandwidth. So thank you, Angelo Campus and Box Power. I'm really excited about that. And I don't want to let the let it out too soon. But one of the projects Payom, myself, and a lot of people in the directory is we're actually looking into opportunities to get all of these resources through the source the permaculturists, the people doing sustainable energy, the people doing green waste, the people doing native plants, the people doing nutrition and permaculture, all of these things, emergency preparedness, workshops, education. We're actually looking to potentially start a school here locally. A place where it's kind of an umbrella where people could come and do what they're doing as individuals and organizations. We're not going to speak too much about that. We're not here to create elaborative, futuristic pipe dreams. We're here to let you know what is happening in our community. And on that, I do want to let you know about this event. This is happening Saturday, April 28th. It's the Stand with Bear River event. I recently attended the South Yuba River Citizens League State of the Yuba meeting, and this is one of the most daunting things that is happening that can affect our community. They're looking to basically put a huge dam and infrastructural project up on the Bear River by Colfax, which will not only have a detrimental effect on the environment, but will also destroy a lot of native and indigenous and cultural heritage sites to the Maidu. So this is happening Saturday, April 28th from 4 to 11 p.m. General Gomez Arts and Event Center in Auburn. Of course, we'll have music with Mignon Gelly. Also, Stan Padilla will be there, and many others. This information will also be available out in the kitchen. Last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to take a break. I'm also a broadcaster at KVMR. So tomorrow, we're doing an Earth Day special showcase on KVMR from 5 to 7 p.m. So when you tune in tomorrow, you'll be able to hear a little bit more about what we're doing with the Source Directory with Payom Riles. You'll get to enjoy some of the music of the performers you're listening to today. But we're going to also have Kathleen Halal with Non-Toxic Communities, because she is absolutely leading the charge here in California to ban the use of glyphosate and Roundup on our communities, which is a horrific toxin. After that, we're going to have Dr. Patrick Giamarisi. We met him last week at our show in Chico that we did. He is brilliant because his whole thing is talking about digestive health. He basically gives you a world of knowledge in about 10 minutes. And he talks about, not only are we concerned with the environment around us, but we have to be concerned with our internal environment, our own state of wellness, the health of our spirit, our mind, and our body. And of course, glyphosate is one of those things that have a detrimental effect, but there's also certain foods and certain things that we do that destroy our ability to actually digest food and get nutrition. And we can see it pretty prevalent here, especially in the United States, with so much of the fast food industry and so much of the quick fix mentality around food and nutrition. After that, we're going to have Kevin Danaher, who is actually the founder of the Green Festival. It's the largest ecological festival in the world. They go all over the country and around the world. He's up in Quincy now, and they're starting a community resilience center, turning a piece of property in downtown across from the co-op into community gardens for kids, teaching them about permaculture, teaching them how to grow food, how to be more sustainable, and how to be more independent, both economically and agriculturally. Then, I'm really excited about this. We have Barbara Daly. And Barbara is going to speak about the North Delta Cares Action Committee. These are the people who are taking on our Governor Jerry Brown to stop the tunnels to send all of our water down to Southern California, to the golf courses, to the car washes, and all the other places that are misusing the resource of water. Water is life. She's taking that issue on, and she has a huge campaign that she's going to be talking about. Again, these are all things, whatever your passion is, just find that niche, and we're going to encourage you to be inspired and be involved. After that, we're hoping to have Wendy back speaking about women's issues from the perspective of a native mountain Maidu woman. And then after that, we have Deborah Whitman, who is basically leading the charge about geoengineering and chemtrails, about educating people about what is happening. Why is the soil becoming so acidic? Why does all of our surface water have heavy metal contamination? This is not a conspiracy, and I'm not here to share my own perspectives, but just to give these people a voice and to let you know what they're doing. We're going to talk a little bit more with Angelo, and we'll have some music on the air again with Mignon Gelly, and maybe we can get our next performer, Brandon, the Human Jukebox, incredible performer, out to share some music on the air. But that's tomorrow, kvmr.org from 5 to 7 p.m. And I think that's about it. So why don't we take a little bit of a break? There's only about another 2 hours left. We're going to have a little bit of food, a little bit of a team building exercise, get people moving, and a couple more speakers and two more amazing performers. We have Brandon Daniels, who's going to perform, and then we're going to finish with Kimberly Bass with the Beats and Bowls. And if you've never heard Kimberly, I get goosebumps just thinking about her music. She uses large crystal bowls and her voice to for healing, and it will transport you to another state of consciousness. Really amazing performers. So thank you. We'll be back in just a little bit. You're watching the Golden Road TV Earth Day special. Get to know each other. Check out the source directory at Payom. Go online, thesourcedirectory.org, and we'll be back in just about a half hour with some more live broadcasting here from Nevada County Tech Center. And again, I want to thank Jim Heck, who tolerates me and works with me and does all the cables and buttons to help make these broadcasts happen. He's really at the cutting edge of technology. So we'll see you in just a few Day special. If you watched the first half of the broadcast, it's been an exciting afternoon of not only educational speakers, but incredible music. We just had a wonderful potluck, got some time, so we're back all fueled up and ready to go for the next hour. We have a couple more performers coming up. We're going to hear a little more from Mignon Gelly and also Brandon Daniels, the Human Jukebox. And we'll be finishing with something very special that you all get to have a very intimate experience of. We're going to have Kimberly Bass here with Beats and Bowls. And if you've never heard her, you're in for a real treat, a real activation of your higher consciousness, and even potentially a healing through the power of sound. But before we do that, I want to thank you for joining in. Golden Road TV is a weekly 2-hour television show. We broadcast live not only on YouTube, but in 10 counties across the Sacramento River watershed area, including Nevada County, Truckee, Sacramento County, Calaveras County, Amador, Butte County up into Chico. We broadcast into Shasta County, which is Redding, and all the way up to the state border, to the crown chakra of California, to Mount Shasta, which is, of course, Siskiyou County. And we're really happy. We've been doing the show for 18 months. We've had over 300 people, organizations, and businesses on the show. All of that can be found on our YouTube channel. And we're really excited about launching the source directory, which we'll talk a little more about that later. But enough talk. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the music for a little bit. And again, an amazing artist, activist. She travels all around the country. Every day she's in a different town. She's an amazing woman. And she's here to share her music in support of the Buffalo and the Buffalo Field campaign. So a nice round of applause again for Mignon Gelly.
Thank you, Michael. I've been on his show a couple of times, so it's always an honor and a pleasure to share some music and share some messages. So I'm going to start out with an original called Seven. It's an original by Goodchild Aguilar. Let's see if this works this time. is on my album. It's called Under a Buffalo Sun, and that is the title of my album. So Under a Buffalo Sun, because I support the Buffalo Field campaign. And there's stories about the buffalo, and especially out of Yellowstone Park, where they're trying to escape being slaughtered. So there was this one big bull, and this is a story. His name was Houdini, and he was hiding from the Yellowstone Park rangers because they were trying to capture him. And he was able to escape, but later he went back and he got the herd, and he drew them towards him, and he drew this whole herd away, and they escaped slaughter that particular year. Anyway, it's one of the stories that Mike Neese tells when we go on our Buffalo Field campaign tour. So, it's also used in the play Pony Sony, where during the gold rush, the Nisenan people had to flee their land, and so the headman, instead of chiefs, they were called headmen, call these people and say, hey, we need to move out of this area because they want the gold. And so they kind of fled wherever they could. A lot of them fled to the coast. So it's kind of the same story, escaping.
sort of here also celebrating the source directory, the launch of the source directory. And if you were here earlier, maybe you heard me spoke about why I think that's important. It's a way for us to connect our community, our greater community, and protect our water, and to manage our landscapes, manage our environment in a way that keeps it healthy and protected, and we can share resources and knowledge. So I'll speak a little more in depth about what the directory is and how it works. So anyone can go to the source directory, thesourcedirectory.org. They can sign up as an individual person. You can put contact information in there. You can talk about what you do, and it helps you get connected with other people that are doing similar work to you, or people that are looking for someone doing the kind of work you're doing. So there's several different categories that we've set up in there because, like on Earth Day, you might think, protecting the Earth, it's all about, protecting the forest and protecting the fish and protecting the plants and the trees. But it's more than that, right? We're an integral part of the planet, and keeping our environment, our ecology healthy also means keeping us healthy and keeping our communities healthy and our economies healthy. And so that's why we've included these different categories. So I'll read some of the categories to you and explain to you why we have them in there. So arts and culture is a really important category in there because the way that we can make changes in our community really is how we develop our culture, right? We have a culture of recycling, or we have a culture of protecting our environment, or a culture of protecting our water. That culture is created through the art that we look at and the music that we listen to and the events that we go to when we go to church and our pastor speaks to us about the importance of caring for the land, or that's through arts and culture. When we have a cultural group that we identify with, it's through that cultural group that we are taught through traditions that our forefathers learned about how important it is to, grow our own food. Whatever that cultural knowledge and traditions that are passed on, that's really critical. So that's why that's one of the categories in the directory. Another one is health and wellness, because if we know how to take care of ourselves, if we can do it ourselves, then that makes our community so much stronger than if we just are relying on medication or crisis intervention from a hospital or something like that. If we can manage that ourselves, if an emergency happens, we are more capable and more resilient, we'll bounce back faster. So it's really important that we all have an understanding of how to take care of our own health. So that's why that's in there. Peace and justice. It's really important that we get involved when we feel like things aren't working well for people. And, in today's world, that's a lot of how changes are made, when people get together and they stand up together and say, hey, this doesn't work, and we're going to get together to make that change. That's an important part of our society, and it's critical and necessary for us to have a healthy communities and healthy economy. Environment and ecology, when you say Earth Day, when you say I'm green, you think of the environment. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, and that's really our largest category right now. So all these environmental organizations that are doing this incredible work to keep our ecologies healthy. Media and communication. So it's really critical that we have alternative media sources to get us information we might not get from the 5 o'clock news, like Michael's show. You will hardly see a lineup of speakers like this anywhere. And the reason why is because Michael is an independent media source. He is not funded by any corporate sponsors. And it's really important that we have that so that we can get those alternative voices out there. So we can hear about, things like the Buffalo Field campaign that you won't hear about on the 5 o'clock news. So that's why that category is in there. Energy and infrastructure. That is, as far as climate change goes, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Drawdown or Hawkins' work, but refrigeration is the number one contribution, from his analysis that he found, is the number one contributor to greenhouse gases. So the way that we build our buildings, the way that we get around, drive cars, build our roads, the way that we cool our food, cool, our buildings and everything. That is a huge piece of keeping our communities healthy and safe in our world. Schools and education and science and technology, both of those categories are in there because they're integral to the way that our societies function. Science and technology is really there to showcase innovative ideas that people are bringing about, because it's through those innovative ideas where things like box power can be shown. Like, let me think of a really good example. So when we come up with new scientific technologies and ways for doing things, it can totally revolutionize how we do things, and it can make us do them in better ways. And schools and education, they're just critical. The way that we educate our youth and even ourselves, adults. It's really important that we have avenues and know where to go to find those types of things. So those are two important categories. Community and government. So in there we have people who might be running for office, government organizations that provide resources for us, and community organizations, community groups that provide resources, like a neighborhood association or something like that. Those groups are really important resources for us when we want to make sure that that our community is running the way we want. You contact a local community group, whether that's a government resource or even just community members. So that's a place for those people to go to say, hey, we're here. And you can search for it on the directory. There's a map function if you want to see what schools are in your area. That's schools. But if you want to see what community groups are in your area, you want to see where all your fire departments are. You want to find that out. That's the place for that information. And there's another category that's for projects. So there might be things that it's not an individual, it's not an organization. It's something that maybe happens once a year, twice a year. Maybe it's something people just came together to do once. You can put it in that project section, and even later on down the road, the project's not happening anymore. People can still go back there and see it as an example of what happened before, and to give context and history to what's going on in our region. So I just wanted to put that stuff out there so that people understand why those categories are there, to maybe think a little bit about where they might fit in and where they might want to look around and see what's happening in there. So go to thesourcedirectory.org and go and check it out.
I listen to the wind of my soul. Where it takes me, well, I think only God really knows. I sat upon the setting sun, but never, 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 I never wanted water once. No, never, never, never. I listen to my words, they fall far below. I let my music take me where my heart wants to go. I swam upon the devil's lake, but never, 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 I'll never make the same mistake. Si negarás mi presencia en tu vivir, bastaría con abrazarte y conversar. Tanto vida yo te di, y la boca llevarás sabor a mí. So you can swing and clap, you can move you want. No pretendo ser tu dueño, no soy nada, yo no tengo vanidad. De mi vida todo lo bueno, soy tan pobre que otra cosa puedo dar. Pasarán más de 1000 años, muchos más, yo no sé si tengo amor, right? La eternidad, dando vida yo te di, y la boca llevará sabor a mí. That's all right. The leg shaking's good. Audience participation. Sabor a mí. No pretendo ser tu dueño. No soy nada, yo no tengo vanidad. De mi vida doy lo bueno. Soy tan pobre que otra cosa puedo dar. Pasarán más de 1000 años, muchos más. Yo no sé si tengo amor. La eternidad, tanta vida yo te di. Y la boca llevará sabor a mí. Sabor a mí. Hablo en el baño, ustedes. Gracias por escuchando la música. Mahalo nui loa in Hawaiian. Muchas gracias en español. And thank you very much in English. You might have figured that one out. So we're going to do Oye Como es de Carla Santana. Vamos, we try this song. Con Miguel Di Martilo en los Congo. Mira, vamos, un aplauso. Which means an applause. There you are. Oye, ¿cómo va? Mi ritmo bueno pa' gozar. Oye, ¿cómo va? Mi ritmo bueno pa' gozar. Mulata. Ja. Oye, ¿cómo va? Mi ritmo como señal. Oye, ¿cómo va? Mi ritmo como señal. Mulata. Oye, como mi ritmo bueno pa' gozar. Oye, como va mi ritmo bueno pa' gozar. Mulata. Friends is another clapping song. Now, friends, music's a universal language, right? You can dig that.
So I'm going to introduce our next guest, Nancy Fleming from the Sierra Streams Institute. They're an organization here in our community that is doing such fabulous work. And again, like I said before, there's so many organizations here that do so much incredible work. It's easy for someone doing incredible work to be overlooked. And there's somebody that I just want everyone to know about. They've been working here for decades, long-term environmental monitoring, engaging with the community, doing really, really amazing stuff. And now with their new center, we're really, really excited about the opportunities that they have. So we really want to highlight them. So Nancy Fleming, thank you for coming.
Right. Thank you so much, and it's a real delight to be here today, particularly on this day today. I am the president of the board of directors of Sierra Streams Institute, and I'm not a scientist, but our executive director, Joanne Heald, is a scientist. She's a river scientist and a very good one, and she has written these words that I would like to share with you today. I couldn't have done anything better, so I will just share her words as she wrote them. Sierra Streams Institute is a watershed monitoring, research, and restoration group based in Nevada City, California, here, our home. Our mission is to link water, science, and people for the benefit of human and environmental health. Founded in 1995 as the Friends of Deer Creek, Sierra Streams has grown to become an important voice in the regional scientific community, but we are still proud to call Deer Creek our home watershed. Why do we do what we do? Citizen science, community engagement, education. That is how we're going to save the planet. One backyard, one community, one watershed at a time. Starting here, starting now. At Sierra Streams Institute, we believe in putting the best practices of science to work on behalf of environmental and human health. We work directly with citizen scientists to collect water quality, benthic macroinvertebrate, algae, wildlife, physical and habitat data. There are numerous benefits of working with citizen scientists, including providing experiential learning to a diverse audience, fostering community members to be advocates for their own watershed, identifying streams in need of restoration, contributing baseline information to state and local agencies, and compiling longitudinal data sets necessary for establishing long-term trends for streams and for studying the effects of climate change. In this current era, engaging the community and training citizens in scientific protocol will increase trust in sound data while preparing citizen scientists with the tools needed to make an impact. Science offers the best guide to understanding our environment and for developing and implementing cutting-edge models of community-based land management, models that we can share with other communities downstream and upstream. A few project overviews that I can share with you today in the work that we're doing. Deer Creek. We have been doing water monitoring of Deer Creek for 18 years through citizen science, collecting monitoring data including water quality, bacteria, birds, mammals, and amphibians. This data is used to see the changes from restoration, impacts of climate change, and used to inform management decisions. An example of that where we have helped a community is at Lake Wildwood. We advise on the spillway releases with them to slowly ramp up and ramp down flows to protect the wildlife populations. Currently, developing extensive monitoring program to investigate and control bacteria issues there. We're also engaged in several restoration projects, spawning areas in the lower Deer Creek. We have been doing gravel augmentation for the past few years and have increased the numbers of reds tenfold, the little salmon, the new salmon. Citizen science assists with snorkeling and visual surveys. Also, abandoned mine remediation. Under grants received by the City of Nevada City, Sierra Streams, then the Friends of Deer Creek at that time, conducted as a subcontractor a brownfields-wide, community-wide assessment of abandoned mine sites on properties owned by the City of Nevada City. 4 sites were investigated: Pioneer Park, Stiles Mill, Hirschman's Pond, and Providence Mine. Based on these assessments, Sierra Streams has cleaned up 2 abandoned mine sites, the Providence and the Stiles Mill sites, and is proceeding with cleanups of 2 other mine waste sites, Pioneer Park and Providence Quartz Mine in Nevada City. We're also working on the Bear River, which is why our original name of Friends of Deer Creek was ultimately changed about 10 years ago to Sierra Streams Institute because our geographic area has expanded so greatly. We're working with the Bear River and having created a stakeholders group to draft the Bear River restoration plan with all possible restoration projects in the watershed. Continuing to work in collaboration with about 75 stakeholders, we are now taking these projects to the next step to become implementation ready. We're developing partnerships, getting permits, and obtaining funding. a monitoring program on the Bear River. Citizen scientists collect 2 years of baseline data on the river and major tributaries to inform project development. Another part of our citizen science is research. The citizen science is to help the community answer questions that they are interested in. 3 most populous counties in the Gold Country, including Nevada County, have breast cancer rates that rank in the top 10 counties in California. When this was brought to our attention by our community, we thought it was a great topic to research. So we launched Community Health Impacts of Mining Exposure, called CHIME, study funded by state tobacco taxes through the California Breast Cancer Research Program. Investigated the concentrations of heavy metals like cadmium and arsenic in a group of approximately 100 Nevada County women. We're continuing to expand these studies to preschools with our Garden Roots programs, where we will sample for heavy metals in the garden soils, plants, dust, and water inside the preschools. With epidemiology, we cannot easily prove cause and effect, but we have discovered provocative findings. We want to share remediations and other things we do as a community to protect our health. Education. Our science education program has 3 underlying goals: to provide students with a basic understanding of scientific principles through hands-on instruction in our watershed, to promote STEM careers, that being science, technology, engineering, and math, for rural youth, to create a new generation of environmental stewards. And examples of this work are, with the support of the EPA Environmental Education Grants Program, we're offering environmental science investigation field instruction to all of the 4th grade classes in Nevada County. Each 4th grader will take a field trip to the Woman campus to do projects, to collect data on study plots, investigate phenology and climate change. The STREAM team. This program was all about giving girls real-life science experience and building their confidence in STREAM subjects. And this is science, technology, restoration, engineering, art, and math. We host trainings for middle and high school students to collect and analyze data in the field and the lab to determine the health of local waterways. Trained high school students then serve as mentors and guides for the middle school trainings. All trainings are led by Sierra Stream's female staff and local women in STEM, giving girls the opportunity to connect with professional mentors and learn about different STEM careers. We're very excited about our recent move to our new headquarters, which is on the beautiful and environmentally diverse 325-acre John Woolman School campus out off Jones Bar Road. With this move comes the development of a first in-county Center for Environmental and Citizen Science. The center will open up new opportunities for community participation in our work and enable us to expand our effectiveness in watershed education, research, and restoration as we work to protect environmental and human health across the Gold Country. So, you can get involved. You can become a part of this. It's very exciting. You could become a citizen scientist, volunteer for any of our programs. You can donate your time, your special skill, such as a graphic design. We can always use some of that for our outreach, or money, of course. We're always open for monetary donations. Help develop our Citizen Science Center. So, contact Sierra Streams for more information, or go to our website, which is www.sierrastreamsinstitute.org, and spread the word and keep in touch. We would love for you to become a part of our community. You can sign up, get a regular newsletter, and be engaged. So thank you so much for your time, and happy Earth Day.
Thank you so much, Karen. And I can't say enough what a great organization that is, and I'm so happy that we have Sierra Streams Institute in my backyard and in my neighborhood. I try to tell them as much as I can how much I appreciate all the work they're doing. One of the things I appreciate so much about their organization is that they make a really strong effort to remind people that all of their work is really science-based, and the importance of using science as a tool to create a framework to engage with the world. It's so critical to teach our children how important that is, and to engage the public with science. One of the things that Karen didn't mention is every month Sierra Streams puts on a talk from a scientist gives a talk for the public. The Sierra Streams Institute and Sierra College put it on together. It's called the Science Speaker Series. These wonderful, engaging talks by these scientists doing amazing, incredible work that affects us, all of us, every day. And I go to these talks, and it's amazing the response from the public, how engaged and interested they are to hear about the science that's happening in their backyard. And they can see the connection between what the scientists are doing and how it affects us. And they have they have questions, and the scientists are really great because they have all these complicated graphs and all this complicated information, and yet the public really gets it. People aren't dumb. I mean, some people are dumb, but most people aren't that dumb. They can get it, and they just have to ask questions. Or often the scientists will say, "Just let me know if you need me to clarify something." And so, science, go science, Earth Day. How are we doing? So, I'm glad that you're all here. I'm glad that we're doing this together today, and I'm excited to engage on a wider level. I keep bringing this back to the Sacramento River watershed, and Sierra Streams Institute is really great. They're working in the Bear River watershed. They're working in the Deer Creek watershed. We have Circle, which is another amazing organization, if you're local, that you might know, working in the Yuba River watershed, doing a lot of great restoration work. And one of the things I've learned doing this directory is that there is really value in reaching out to the broader watershed. And another thing that Karen mentioned was that they have some really great programs they're doing, and they can offer them as examples to other communities who might need to engage their youth in science around watershed issues, or engage the public. And those, someone down in Chico or over in Clear Lake, they might want to follow a similar example, and may be able to, partner or figure out ways they can do work together, like Sierra Streams Institute is doing with Sierra College. And so I'm excited to see the broader region get a greater sense of unity, so that we can all see that, we are all part of the Sacramento River watershed. All the water that comes from Yuba River, comes from Bear River, comes from the Feather River, all that water is going into the Sacramento River. And it gives us a sense of place, and helps us understand, where we are, and to engage in the place that we live in. So I want to thank you all for coming out and enjoying the wonderful music that we had today, and getting educated on some things maybe you did or didn't know about. I want to remind you to go to thesourcedirectory.org and sign up if you haven't already. You might do a search, and if you're doing great work in the Sacramento River watershed region, do a quick search on your name. You might already be in there. All you have to do is claim your listing. I think we're getting ready to hear get some sound healing happening. Oh, there was something I wanted to mention. So earlier I spoke about the different categories. And one thing that I didn't mention is the health and wellness category. You might just think about, health practitioners, or being able to get access to health information that you can use yourself. But it's more than that. That also encompasses spiritual organizations, because our spiritual health is also really important. However you want to look at that, your connection to nature, your connection to a higher power, your connection, just coming together in groups to have oneness with each other, that's really critical to our everyday functioning, to be connected in that way. So that's a part of that category. Another part of that category is play. If you have like you're involved in a sports team, that's important to your health and development. It's important that we have those outlets for ourselves. If you like to go mountain biking, if you like to do martial arts, whatever it is you like to do, that's part of your health and wellness, and having those activities as part of your everyday life is important. The way Michael and I met each other was through drumming. He facilitates a weekly drum circle. I like to hit drums. And so we went and we got to know each other, and the level of community that we developed through that weekly drum circle was really, it's healing, really. There isn't another way to put it. I go there because I think it's fun, but really I'm getting something very worthwhile out of that community meeting that I go to every week. And so that play, that really goes, that really is important for our health and wellness. So thank you all for coming, and happy Earth Day again. Go to thesourcedirectory.org, sign up, and Golden Road Media. Michael DiMartino, what an amazing show he's put on for us today, and he's constantly doing this. This is not the first tour that you'll see, the spring tour. I'm sure you'll see another tour in the fall where he brings amazing speakers, more amazing entertainment, and he's constantly going and producing. So thank you, Michael, for everything you've been doing.
All right, so those of you who have been very patient, a lot of you have been here all afternoon for 4 hours, and we really do appreciate your participation. I want to thank all of the educational speakers representing their own work, not only within the indigenous community, but the organizations and the businesses that are dedicated profoundly to our quality of life here, as Priyom said, not just in Nevada County, but throughout the Sacramento River watershed. And that, again, extends from Mount Shasta to Sacramento, down to Davis, all the way up to the high peaks of the Sierras in Truckee and Lake Tahoe. So right now we have almost 600 people in the directory. Our goal is by summer solstice to have over 1,000 highly vetted contacts for you, completely free, that you can find out. If you want some consultation about permaculture or maybe beekeeping, if you want to find out what's happening with citizen science in your local streams, or you need some input or advice or scientific support, if you want to support some of the cultural icons and the performing artists that really are a huge economic driver for this area, you can go there. I do want to acknowledge that I moved here about 6 years ago from Santa Cruz, partially because it became too crowded, too congested, too polluted. Over the course of living there for the last 20 years, I saw the ocean die. A lot of that contributed by not just plastics and sewage, but from the unfortunate Fukushima incident. So I'm up here in the foothills. We're making our stand. I'm completely committed to serving this community and helping to show you and showcase some of the amazing people that make this, not in the mineral sense, but truly are the heart and essence of Gold Country. So Sierra Streams, Circle, Bear Yuba Land Trust, I mean, the list goes on. There's over 500 people in there. So just recently, Truckee, Nevada City, Redding, and Wairika were all acknowledged as historic and cultural districts that are the economic drivers for the region, and real special pearls of history, arts, and culture that all confluence in these locations. And I'll be working more on some of that, some of the artists in our area. So I'm not going to take up any more time. You've been very patient. So I'm going to turn it over now to our next, well, I would say performer, but she really does so much more than perform. And we'll just let her voice and the crystal bowls do what they do best.
Thank you. TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show. Well, bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow.
Golden Road explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology, paving the road for positive social change.
It's a Golden Road